Hi, my name's Patrick Coughlin from TruSTAR Technology. I'm here today with Sumedh Thakar, who's the Chief Product Officer at Qualys. Thanks for joining us, Sumedh.
Thanks for having me.
So Sumedh, can you tell us a little bit about what are some of the problems that Qualys solves for its customers?
Yeah, so we have a lot of large customers, enterprises, and what we really help them with is getting visibility and providing them that visibility across their hybrid infrastructure, because a lot of organizations today have many different types of infrastructure that they have to really manage and deal with at the same time. And so Qualys really provides them that ubiquitous visibility, I would say.
Yeah, and Qualys has been around for a long time. You've seen some of the way these technologies change businesses. What role has the cloud played for some of your customers, and how is Qualys reacting to the movement of more workloads to the cloud in the enterprise?
Yeah, so it's really good in the sense that the cloud is really driving the digital transformation, right? And so the cloud is just a means. Digital transformation is what is driving the businesses, right? Is the desire to really transform the way they do business. And so when they're moving into the cloud, it is both a little bit scary for them because things are outside their physical data center, but it also gives them an opportunity to really rethink everything from scratch and build a new infrastructure in a better way, a newer way, more modern technology, and also build security right into that infrastructure.
Yeah. How has Qualys changed, or the Qualys suite of products changed? You know, you as the Chief Product Officer with this movement to the cloud. Are you guys rolling out new cloud capabilities, new visibility? You mentioned visibility is one of the key things that you provide.
Yeah. I've been at Qualys for almost 15 years now. So
really?
Yeah, when I started, we had one product and we were barely about selling it because, interestingly enough, back then, what was unique is that we had the thought process that we could actually do this out of the internet back in the day.
Yeah.
Now there's fancy terms like SaaS and cloud to describe what we do. So it's almost become a fashion statement now, right? Everybody has to say we're in the cloud. We were born in the cloud, so we kind of started from that point on. And then as we build a massive platform that a lot of companies have deployed, we have 70% of Fortune 50 companies have deployed Qualys today for scale. So we scale in a big way, and then we realize that because we have that footprint in those large enterprises, we can help these enterprises optimize their crazy spend that they do on infrastructure from a security perspective just to get visibility. So Qualys, we have been working on adding more and more capabilities with that same infrastructure that they already have deployed and the same agent, so they can now see everything from their on-prem, their cloud, their laptops, and now also mobile devices, all in a single interface.
Yeah. You work with companies across many different sectors.
Yeah.
Who's good at this? Which sectors do this well? Which sectors are struggling?
Yeah, I think as always, the tech sector, the technology companies, the Amazons, Microsofts, the Googles, they obviously are doing a much better job, the Apples, because they are at the forefront of technology, and they realize that the best way to gain better security is to start much earlier in the life cycle. And so as they are changing their development practices, they have been working on adding security upfront with the DevOps concept that has really been around. And so now we see other companies, financial institutions, a lot of them also picking that up quite well now.
Yeah. Who's, if I can push you a little bit, who do you think is lagging? Who do you see needs to pick up the pace a bit?
I think it's a large industrial organizations are lagging a little bit because they're not that pushed by regulations. So in some ways, regulations help to push financial companies. Tech companies is a natural desire to be at the forefront of everything, including security. I think the industrial organizations are a little bit slower to adapt to technology in general. So.
You mentioned, what about healthcare? I'm curious.
Healthcare is regulated, so they are actually in the forefront of technology in some sense, right? Today, doctors carry tablets and iPads, and all your results are available online, and so they are retooling their infrastructure, so they are getting an opportunity to relook at their security as well. Yeah,
and I think with IoT, and as you mentioned, the bring your own devices and the challenge that these healthcare companies face in sort of getting their arms around what are the devices on their network, right? And visibility. I've spent some time with chief security officers in healthcare, and you ask them how many assets do you have, and they'll give you some sort of order of magnitude range.
Right.
It's 20,000, 200,000, not sure.
Yeah, but to be honest, nobody knows that.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Absolutely not even the most sophisticated financial services company.
Exactly. And so but interestingly enough, that is the number one thing for security, because you cannot secure something that you don't know, right? That one device that you are not aware is on your network can lead to the compromise, right? And so getting that visibility is something that everybody's really working towards. And there is no one single solution, no one single tool, because the infrastructure is so hybrid, right? So you have on-prem devices, you have a bunch of cloud things. Now there's containers, some more containers coming up. You have lots of mobile devices. So the best approach is to really collect as much information as you can, analyze it in the back end, and try to show that visibility to the extent that you can. And it's an ongoing process in trying to really get that visibility, but nobody has that.
Yeah, and you can't achieve perfection, right? But you have to be. We spend a lot of time talking with companies about threat intelligence, and one of those buzzwords out on the RSA floor. But as you said, intelligence isn't something you just buy, right? Yeah. You have to marry it up with your assets and the visibilities, or else you just have noise.
You have to operationalize it, right? That's the term. Like you have to operationalize, you have to orchestrate it. So there's a lot of companies that send you an email saying, oh, there is this threat, but then when you are an organization that has 8 million devices across 300 countries, whatever, 300 locations, I should say, how do you make it operationalized? And that's kind of where, just like with everything else where people are moving to the cloud, even for security solutions, leveraging the cloud and the compute in the cloud can now do a much better job at correlating large volumes of data to be able to provide that visibility, that sort of security. And that's what Qualys does. We leverage the cloud platform that we have built with the elasticity and the scale, and then we provide these organizations with that view.
I got an email today from Qualys because I signed up for something at some point about the CloudView product.
Right. Yeah.
How does the CloudView product, reflect Qualys's sort of long-standing reputation at providing that visibility? What does it do differently that Qualys wasn't doing in the past?
Yeah, so it's interesting, right? As digital transformation is both, like I said, scary and also a major opportunity. So if you look at what organizations are doing, they're leveraging that digital transformation to retool all of their applications and move into the cloud.
Right.
Makes sense, right? You want to eliminate the time spent in, your IT guys driving over to Fry's to buy a server when you need one, right?
Yeah.
So as that is happening and moving into the cloud provides opportunities like you don't need to build your own databases, you don't need to bring your own message bus, you don't need to build all these things. They are provided as services by the infrastructure service provider like an AWS and Azure. However, now you need to know that they're configured correctly. Right. That's why we see breaches with people moving in the cloud quickly. They have their S3 buckets that are widely open. Bitcoin miners installed. You have a VM, you don't know. Interestingly enough, people find out about these miners, crypto miners in their environment after they get the bill.
Yeah, exactly.
So I joked about, who's your incident response is the finance team, because when they see the bill, they're like, did you know that you have an incident going on? So that's where with cloud, you need that additional visibility that you don't traditionally kind of look at in the regular environment. And so with the CloudView solution, our customers are in the same boat. They have a bunch of stuff that's on-prem. They are moving some things into the cloud. So now we also provide them that visibility with CloudView, is the ability to, for free, look at all of the inventory of your cloud resources. And then after that, they can, evaluate from a CIS benchmark perspective, from an AWS best practices perspective, do you have these resources correctly configured or not? So that's what CloudView provides.
So it's like the free sort of visibility and then the configuration insight.
Yeah, the assessment is something that then they pay for.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you think, you mentioned regulation a couple times.
Yeah.
Where do what regulations do you see, or what are the trends you're seeing in regulation, and how is it impacting how your customers are thinking about security? And maybe just the secondary would be, what's the role of regulation here?
Yeah, I mean, look, the regulation or the compliance has always been a validation of security, right? It's not saying that this is your security, it's validating that you have the right measures in place. So regulation, in my opinion, has been good for companies, pushing them into doing the right thing. So whether you take PCI back in the day, really brought some rigor, to an industry that had no rigor at all. So of course, sometimes you have the negative side of compliance driving your security, which should not be the case. However, it does have its place. You look at FedRAMP, it's driving the cloud service providers to really do a good job at patching and all of that. And then now the new thing is, of course, GDPR, right? So with the EU, now you can debate about 4% of your global revenue and all of that. I'm going to stay away from that. But by bringing that regulation, they are pushing companies to innovate. That's how I look at it as a positive thing, right? There's disruption in the industry. Disruption is always good because it forces industries to innovate. And so what we are seeing because of like GDPR regulation, taking their existing infrastructure and then buying additional security products, old security products to slap onto that infrastructure is so expensive for them. They look at that money and they say, you know what, I'm just going to take that money and rewrite my entire app in the new way and embed security into it. It's cheaper to do it that way. So regulation is driving that innovation for all companies to say, I'll just put my money into new infrastructure and get IT teams that are going to write that and then embed security into that.
I mean, it's interesting you say regulation is driving innovation, because I think that's a pretty powerful concept. Do you think that, like, where do you see your customers going? I mean, you guys were born in the cloud, you've witnessed this move towards the cloud, and some it's probably been faster than they expected, some way slower. What do your customers look like 10 years out? Is everybody multi-tenant? Is there still elements that are always on-prem?
Yeah, that's a tough question to answer. I mean, at the end of the day, I think more and more movement will happen into of the data centers will move into the cloud, I think. However, people will still have physical locations, and you'll have offices, and your offices will have printers and IoT devices and laptops and things like that. So I think that piece of the infrastructure is probably still going to continue, mobile devices. But I think there will be a significant migration of the data centers into the cloud, and that kind of gives that opportunity to do it better and building security in.
Okay, it wouldn't be an RSA interview if I didn't ask you about artificial intelligence and machine learning. What do you think that, let's just pick one of the buzzwords, artificial intelligence, how do you see that impacting either the way that attackers are engaging with your customers, or how can the good guys be leveraging AI to keep up?
I think there's a lot of room for these kind of technologies, but again, it has to be taken in the context of the use case, right? So there's a lot of buzzwords. I mean, companies are basically projecting, security companies, especially if you walk the floor, they're saying that they can essentially solve world hunger and all of that because it's all AI based and machine learning. And just like with any other technology, like containers, for example, has its place in the digital transformation to add certain value. It's the same with machine learning. I think machine learning truly and AI is very much based on high quality data that you can collect. So if you can collect a lot of good high quality data, it can be leveraged to find trends, anomalies, things like that, that can bring additional visibility beyond the obvious to the enterprises, so they can leverage that to potentially identify ongoing attacks or APTs. So I think that in an overall stack of your basic hygiene, which is your vulnerability management, the best way to not get sick is make sure you wash your hands before you eat. Right? Patch your systems. WannaCry taught us that. Patch your systems, and then from there on you can go more into the thing of like, okay, we deploy this, we make sure we're patching, but then there will always be other vectors, and then you can leverage certain aspects of machine learning and artificial intelligence potentially to get that additional visibility as well.
I can't tell you how many security teams we've worked with where they want to talk about threat intel, they want to talk about AI, they want to talk about machine learning. But their biggest challenge is patch management and knowing what to patch.
And that's exactly what WannaCry and all of that taught us, right? Is that your basics have to be done. It's like a vaccine, right? You pay $50 upfront for a vaccine and protect yourself from against all the known bad stuff. You're gonna not have to spend $5,000 later going to the hospital for being treated for something you could have just gotten a vaccine for, right? And so there is a huge place for configuration assessment, vulnerability assessment, and patching that will really protect you against a lot of the attacks that are out there. Malware guys are just lazy as everybody else, right? They want to exploit the vulnerability that's already on the system.
Absolutely.
However, now by collecting all of that data and getting all of that done, now you can look at the next step, which is basically, can you do all these machine learning and stuff on that additional data that you collect.
Yeah, but don't skip that step. Get a strong foundation.
Get a strong foundation.
And then
build on top of that. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, well, thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thanks
for having me.
Nice
Thank you very much.